This is where I usually say something to make you want to watch the episode. It's Glenn Beck. Hi, I'm Stuart Shepard. This is First Liberty Live. We are on the road in Houston this week. You know, I want to compliment our tech staff. They do a fantastic job keeping up the website, firstlibertylive.com, and the app for your iPhone or your Droid phone. You can listen to us as a podcast. We want to make this available to you however you want to hear it. So if you find the one that works for you, and you can sort through the episodes and listen to the ones or watch the ones you want to. This is one you're going to want to, because right next to me, at heart, you're a radio guy.
Yes.
You're also a TV guy.
Yes.
And a webcast guy and podcast guy.
Yeah.
And a public speaker, publisher.
Yeah.
You're doing a little real estate.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah, I don't sleep a lot.
You are a content machine,
Yeah.
is really what it is. Glenn Beck, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's so good to
Sorry
talk
about
to
my voice, but the allergies here in Texas, we went from about 40 degrees to 80 degrees overnight, and everything just exploded. So I'm having a problem with allergies.
It sounds very White-like.
Yes, it does. It does.
We could do a couple top 40 hits.
Yeah,
while
that's
we're
right.
Hey, it's something that we as parents need to know about, and you've been talking about this on all of your outlets lately, that I didn't know about until Florida started rejecting textbooks. Correct. And then I saw in the stories that this is one of the reasons.
Yeah.
Then I heard your unpacking of it, about it's social emotional learning,
Correct.
SEL. Explain for us what that is and why we need to know about it.
It is the Trojan horse that is bringing this new sexual curriculum in that is unbelievably bad, and CRT. When they say we're not teaching critical race theory, we're not doing that with sex. Really, let me see your math book.
Yeah.
It's coming in under social emotional learning. This is actually something that was created, believe it or not, by the CDC. This should show you how deep the problems go in our government. The CDC decided years ago, and I guess you could say that it was started for good reasons. They're trying to help the kids who come from divorce or whatever. Yeah. But they kept expanding that list, and now it's, are you in an underrepresented community? Are you in a community where BLM protests happened?
And what you're saying is by categorizing them like that, they can sweep them into the program?
Yeah, they sweep everybody, and everybody now is into a oppressor or oppressed category. Okay. And so all of the kids will have to examine their oppressing viewpoints or being oppressed. And it goes all the way to the math. Now we're teaching social justice in math problems. It is a complete hijacking of our education. And honestly, I don't know if you know who you all, what's his name? Noah Yuval Harari, I think. He wrote the book Homo Sapien. Okay. And all of the elites love this guy. And in it, he talks about there will be no gender by 2050. And part of that is because he believes in what's the singularity, the combining of humans and machines. Yeah. But the other part is this, SEL, we're erasing gender. Gender will not be a thing. And if you look at it when he says, by 2050, this is the way it will be, those are our kids that are being born right now. They'll be educated in this entirely new system almost from birth, and it will be meaningless by the time we hit 2050.
Nearly 20 years ago, I went to Chicago as a reporter, and I went to the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network conference. Mm-hmm. And in one of the sessions, before each session, they announced who I was and who I worked for, because they don't want anybody to accidentally talk to me. But they laid out in that how to work their activism, their agenda, into math problems and math curriculum for kindergarten through third grade. Now we're seeing it actually happen.
So I truly believe this is the last few elections of America as we know it. If we don't clean out all of those agencies, just clean them out. I talked to the last interview I did with Donald Trump. I said, so I'm sure you've learned how deep the deep state is now. I said, when you first said deep state, I thought, I wish you wouldn't use that language. That sounds conspiratorial. But the more I see, the more I look, it is so deep. It is the root now of the tree. It's not the branches, it's the root. And the next president in Congress has to be prepared to fire thousands of people. They just all have to go. Shut down the Department of Education and get rid of the teachers' unions. The teachers' unions are funding it, and the Department of Ed is now empowering it. CDC is designing it, and the Justice Department will enforce it.
That conference I just referenced, the keynote speaker was the president of the National Education Association, the nation's largest teachers union.
Yep, they are really real trouble, real trouble.
That's from the top down. From a parent standpoint, what can you do to first realize what you're seeing in the textbook, and then what do you do to keep your kids on a proper track?
The first thing you should do is you should look. I think it's A Time for a Stand. It's a website and a podcast started by a parent in California that saw this in California and began researching it then. She's got a lot of tools and information just there on her podcast and website. But there's several groups that are fighting. The most important thing is learn the language of social justice, not equality, equity.
Right.
Whenever you see equity, or any of these buzzwords like diversity, run for the hills. Inclusion. Those words, if they are in, that is your direct line to CRT and all of this garbage. That'll tell you that the schools can say whatever they want, but if they're including words, diversity, inclusion, or equity, they're deep into it.
Yeah. And again, just to underscore it, it's going to be in the math curriculum, in the English curriculum.
Everything.
It's going to show up everywhere.
It will be in everything.
You have a new bestseller. You sold out as soon as you put it out there to sell. It's called The Great Reset. It is a Glenn Beck kind of bestseller, meaning that some people will read it and go, absolutely. Others are going to read it and go, yeah, I'm a little skeptical, but tell me more. I want to hear about this. Others are going to read it and go, that's just wackadoodle. We're going to stipulate the premise for this conversation. I'm not in the wackadoodle category.
No, I know.
Just so you know.
I know.
We're going to stipulate the premise. First, explain to us what the Great Reset is, because I want it to lead up to a very important question I want to hear your answer to.
So the Great Reset is very complex, and something that 2 years ago I thought, come on, it can't really be that. It's not that. Yeah. We started doing research on it. The more we researched, the more we found, and not digging through crazy sources, but going to their own websites, going to whitehouse.gov, treasury.gov, the World Economic Forum.org, WEF.org. Okay. You go and you look at those websites, and they are clear what they're doing, and they are moving. And in fact, I happen to, this is a book by Stuart Chase. He's the guy who coined the term the New Deal during FDR. And this book I've had for a long time. Hard to get, at least intact, because the last chapters are usually ripped out of it, and for a reason. My bookmark is a Communist Party.
Workers' Party.
Yeah, Workers' Party.
I don't see your name on it,
It's
so we're
not.
good.
Now listen to this. He writes this in 1942, and he says, look, we're going to win the war, but what are we going to have at the end of it? And he says, if business as usual is going to be defined as a condition where prices are set in an open market, where hope of profit is the mainspring of new investment, where government only acts as an umpire for a system of free enterprise, then we really haven't won anything, okay?
Yeah.
Now, does that sound familiar? If we're going to go back after COVID, and it's just going to be business as usual, okay? So this is what he was proposing at that time. And it is truly terrifying, because he says it's not socialism, it's not communism, it's not fascism. We don't know what it's going to be called yet, so we're just calling it System X. Okay? And System X will have a strong centralized government, an executive arm growing at the expense of legislature and judicial arms, the control of banking, credit, and security exchanges, the underwriting of employment, the underwriting of food, housing, medical care, the use of deficit spending technique to finance these, the abandonment of gold, the control of all foreign trade by the government, control of natural resources, control of energy sources, control of transportation, agricultural production, education, the control of labor organizations. Then it goes in and says, we're not going to own any of these things. Okay? They'll still have private ownership.
We're just going to control them?
But those groups will voluntarily work with us. Okay? Private-public partnership.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they're talking about now. Now, this, I'm not saying that this was the original plan, but
it shows that people have been talking about this
for a long time.
Yeah.
And they have, when you look at the things that these giant corporations are doing, Exxon, why would Exxon all of a sudden say, we're going to go green? Well, that's because BlackRock bought enough shares to force Exxon to put 2 environmentalists on their board to start to begin to abandon hydrocarbon, okay? This is happening everywhere. If you look at our response to Russia, why did McDonald's say they weren't going to close their McDonald's in Russia, and then 2 days later say there was a reputational risk to McDonald's, so we have to close? Now, they've lost billions of dollars. They've lost all their restaurants, everything, all their assets, their trademark even. They're opening them up. Russia's just opening them up and making the Big Mac anyway.
Wow.
What is a reputational risk? That's a code word, a key word, that's showing that the banking community is saying, oh, I see you're not playing ball. See, we've all decided to go this way. And if you decide not to be part of that group, then
we're not going to play anymore.
I don't know if we can give you a loan anymore, because your reputation will tar our reputation. And because we know the world's going this way, you become a financial risk as well. 2 days it took for that pressure, not from the White House, not from the government, but from the banking and financial community.
Yeah.
That's what the Great Reset is.
And this is something we've talked about on this particular channel, is the idea of a soft authoritarianism, a soft totalitarianism that involves corporations. It's not jackbooted thugs marching down the street, but it's this corporate oversight of everything. But here's because we're a nonprofit law firm that exclusively does religious freedom cases.
Yeah.
When you look at this, they always go after faith early on and try to shut it down. Explain why that is, why historically that's true.
This is hard for people to understand when we have had freedom for as long as we have now. But religion, and don't make the mistake, that Thomas Paine made when he was over in France. He tried, but he couldn't articulate it well enough. There's a difference between God and religion, okay? Truth and doctrine. Doctrine might be truth, might not be truth.
We can argue about it.
We can argue about doctrine.
Yeah.
We can argue about religion, but God is God, and there is eternal natural truths, and nature's God and nature's laws.
And seeking God, finding God, is what makes for proper doctrine. I mean, that's the one is out of the other, and that's the order it goes.
Right, and all the misunderstandings are from men, not from God. Any of the persecutions and the things that the early Christians did or Muslims are doing, that's not God. That's man, okay?
Yeah.
And the important part is, the reason why we came here is because we understood that God is a personal thing, that we have a one-to-one, that we answer to him, and he can talk to us and reveal himself to the individual. So when your church tells you something, you just shouldn't blindly do it. You should read the scriptures, you should pray on it, and you should listen for him, confirm or deny, okay? Each individual is important. If you don't have an individual relationship, you can't call bunk, okay? I have to go to you. That's why the scriptures were in Latin. I've got to go to you.
And he's the one to teach me.
Correct. And that's the first part of slavery. The second is, once you understand that you have relationship with God, you are one of his children, you are special to him, that means I have to say, you are also special to him, and you have a connection. So I don't have the right to do anything to you, because we're both children of somebody else, okay? And he's the one making the laws. That's why we came over here. We had that
And
understanding.
by we, you're talking about the early settlers who came.
The Pilgrims, not Jamestown, but the Pilgrims.
Yes.
They came here for that. That's why all of our documents are steeped in God, not in religion, in God. We believe that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator. That was something we said then was self-evident because our churches were preaching that. They were preaching empowerment. Now we have a new religion in America, and that new religion is wokeism. It's CRT, it's SEL, it's whatever is going to even all the odds for everybody, level the playing fields,
Level
punish.
for everybody except you.
Except for you, because there is no forgiveness because you're born with that sin and can never get rid of that sin. You're white. That's insanity. That's insanity, and that leads to great, great darkness. So they have to kill the only competitor to their government god or their mob god. They have to kill that competitor because that competitor tells the individual, no one should treat you, and you shouldn't treat anyone else like they are.
There's a higher authority. You've got another book back here I want you to hold up.
Yeah,
you were showing
is,
me that earlier. Because it's significant.
Yeah, there's only 7 of these.
Jared, do you want to get a close-up there?
This is called the Aiken Bible. Now, when we came over with that understanding, we were not allowed to print a Bible because we were using the Geneva Bible, and it has all kinds of script on the side that explains the scriptures, and it explains you're a free person. That person over you that's doing these things, that's a tyrant. That's not a king. That's a tyrant. So the king didn't like it at all. It was King James. So he persecuted the Pilgrims and at the same time started to write the King James version of the Bible that took all that commentary out. And we were told no Bibles could be printed in America. So no Bibles were until this.
Until that one.
This is the Aiken Bible, and you can see, I don't have my glasses on, but I think you can see it was commissioned by Congress. Do you see that? Am I on the right page?
I don't have my glasses on either, so we are helpless.
Yeah, well, here, I got my glasses right here. But it was commissioned by Congress. This is the first act of Congress.
Yeah, which is worth pointing out every time you pick that up.
Right. This is, Mr. Aiken was commissioned in Philadelphia by Congress to do this, to print a Bible. When George Washington got it, he said, finally, something of real meaning and real value to give to the men who have served for me or with me. His thanks was a Bible. So we are a nation that is Judeo-Christian, clearly.
And let me, because you're rolling right into my last question as far as the subject matter here, and that is the founders' vision. They had an idea of what this nation ought to be.
Correct.
Help unpack that so that people can get a clear sense of it.
What it ought to be is a nation that can argue with one another, can go to different churches, cannot go to church, and everybody is treated the same. That justice is truly blindfolded. That it doesn't care what your skin color is. It doesn't care male, female, rich, or poor. Just like God, it judges everybody on their deeds. We can't judge on your heart, but we can judge on your deeds and deeds alone. Yeah. And so the vision was that there is no king but God. You know, they tried to make George Washington a king. He refused.
He said no. Yeah.
And King George said, if he gives up his position, if he surrenders his position of president, he indeed is the greatest man to ever live. And he did. And that is...
And went back to Mount Vernon.
And became a farmer. Didn't go back and then start doing, speaking feeds and getting all of these organizations that would enrich him and his family to have control outside of the government. Yeah. I think that's extraordinarily dangerous. And we're doing that now. Yeah. And we are not finding the things self-evident that we used to. We've gotten rid of the e pluribus unum out of many one. What people came here for was not for gold and riches. They came for the opportunity to live the way they wanted to live and not be told, not be taxed, not have to be licensed in everything that they do and have somebody approve every step of the way. They wanted to be free. And that freedom means you have the right to succeed and you have the right to fail. You have the right to express yourself. You have the right to speak on any topic. You have the right to question your government and question hard and demand answers because they work for you. We don't work for them.
And so many
completely
times
different.
I hear people want to separate out free speech from freedom of religion, but everything you're saying, they're completely, perfectly synced up together.
Yeah, they are together. You know, when it comes to religion, and I do believe wokeism is a cult. It's more than a religion. It's a cult. But I believe you have the right to believe those things. I believe you have the right to fight for those things.
And we have the right to try to change your mind away from it.
Exactly. Or, live together as a group and vote and say, nope, we're not going that way.
Yeah.
You know when somebody has a limited argument and a losing argument when they have to shut everybody down. And that's what's happening on a grand scale. And it's not just here, it's all over the world.
Yeah.
This, going back to the Great Reset, is a play for the entire world. And it is a play of the West versus the East. Who's going to dominate? Are we going to be like China? I hope to God not, but if the Great Reset happens, you will. And government and wokeism will be your God.
You could be a lot of places this evening, but you're here in Houston for an event with First Liberty Institute. Why did you choose to be here from all the places you could have been?
The only thing I have seen First Liberty do is great and powerful good. You guys have fought the hard battles, even when we weren't winning. But you guys are winning right now. We have made significant strides. I think we are more free because of you. We are more free on religious topics than we have been probably in 50 years. And what's so strange to me is it seems as though society and everything is just going to hell in a handbasket. But the course that you guys are charting is going the other direction, seemingly, and you're winning. You're actually enforcing the things that we used to believe are self-evident. This is the only way out. It's the only way out.
It is, and it's with God's favor. I mean, we only can do this with His strength, but it's astonishing the opportunities that are being put in front of us right now.
George Washington knew that, we have to somehow or another get people to understand what we fought against. We don't even understand what we fought for in 1776. But let's just try to reverse that. What did we fight against? The most powerful force on earth. It would be like us doing battle with all of the Navy SEALs, all of Special Forces, the Army Rangers, and we'd get a collection of 100 of us and go, we can take them.
Yeah, we got it.
Right. There's no way.
Yeah.
That's who we fought against, and we won because we don't have manifest destiny. What we have is divine providence. We have this amazing thing, an understanding that George Washington really had, that if we live by God's rules, if we serve, if we love others, even our enemies, and we are striving to build His kingdom, doors will just open up. Things will happen because you're in the flow of what is right and true. And without God, we're not going to get it. We won't be able to get there. We just won't.
Glenn Beck, thank you so much for your time. It's an honor to get to talk to you.
Thank you.
All right.
God bless.
And we will see you next time right here on First Liberty Live.